Do you remember that one time your mom got so mad at you, she almost made you poop out of fear? Okay, that may be a bit of a weird question to start with. Here's another one. Do you remember that one time you were about to go on your first date and you just couldn't stop the butterflies in your stomach? Or just about every time you had a gut feeling about something? At any of these moments, did you think it was your gut that was making you feel either nervous or fearful right then and there? Having a gut feeling or having butterflies in your stomach, are these just nonsense expressions? Or could there actually be an underlying truth to them? Could we actually poop out of fear? These are intriguing questions I have come to ask myself in the last couple of years. I just graduated from a bachelor's in cognitive neuroscience here at the UVA, and I learned many things about how our brain works. Most neuroscientists consider the brain to be the driver behind how we feel and act every day. And most certainly, the brain plays an enormously important role in our feelings and behaviors. But is it really just this beautiful chunk of gooey matter that is responsible for all we feel and do? After having done some research about this topic, I discovered that we all have a second brain, which is intricately connected with our brain up here. And this second brain is down here. It's our gut. Now, it makes sense that the gut hasn't been at the center of scientists' attention for a long time. I mean, it's complex. It covers a surface area so vast that if spread out, it would cover the size of a tennis court. 70% of all of our immune cells are there. 20 distinct types of hormones are produced there. Tens of trillions of different microbes populate it. And what's more, the digestive system has a nervous system of its own. And this nervous system is so elaborate that if you would remove your gut from your body, it would continue functioning on its own, without needing the brain to do this. It's the only organ in our body that is capable of doing this without our brain. And there's actually a bunch of nerves that connect our brain to our gut. And 10% of these nerves send information from our brain to our gut. The expression pooping out of fear is a perfect example of this. So in stressful situations, our brain sends neurotransmitters to our gut, informing it that it should stop digesting at that moment in order to save energy for the stressful event that's going on outside. And sometimes this even results in nervous vomiting or nervous diarrhea to get rid of the food that the body doesn't want to digest at that moment. So pooping out of fear is really a thing. And who knows, maybe I even made a quick bathroom trip before coming on stage today. But what is maybe even more interesting is that the other 90% of the nerves connecting brain and gut send information from our gut to our brain. And the fact that our gut sends more information to our brain than vice versa actually makes sense, because our brain is a very isolated organ, right? It's trapped in an iron-hard skull covered with 3 sturdy layers of skin, but it needs information on how the rest of the body is doing. And that's where the gut comes in. The gut is our largest sensory organ. It collects information not only on the quality and quantity of what we eat, but also on the status of our immune cells or the levels of sugar or cholesterol in our blood. And it sends all of this information up to our brain, to specific brain areas that have been implicated in the processing of emotions, fear, decision-making. So our gut is like a personal coach to our brain when it comes to forming a general bodily feeling. And I use the word feeling here because our brain truly influences our feelings this way. Did you know that serotonin, our feel-good molecule, is produced for 95% in our gut. Only 5% of our feel-good molecule is produced in our brain. And this is also why science is starting to consider that a disbalance in the gut may be a very important factor when it comes to certain mental disorders, such as depression, anxiety, or even Alzheimer's. Now, you may be thinking, okay, wait there, Natalie, what exactly do you mean by a disbalance in the gut? Allow me to explain. Everybody sitting here today has something in common. We all have an invisible organ inside of us, the weight of our brain. And this invisible organ is right inside our gut, and it consists of tens of trillions of microbes. We call it our gut microbiome. Now, your gut microbiome is so big, so extensive, that 90% of the cells in your body are microbial cells, and only 10% are human cells. So you are more microbe than you are human. Now, lately, scientists have come to understand that these microbes in our gut may not only influence our feelings, but also our behavior. And I learned this interaction between gut and behavior through the incredible story of a mouse. When mice become colonized by the microbe Toxoplasma gondii, an incredible thing happens. They lose their fear of cats. And in fact, this fear turns into a morbid sexual attraction. And this sexual attraction goes so far that the mouse literally falls in love with nothing less than its predator's urine. And as you can imagine, this causes the mouse to recklessly approach the cat. And often enough, the mouse ends up in the belly of the cat. So this is really an intriguing example of how a microbe can take control of a mouse's brain and not only influence its feelings, but also its behavior. And I have a second example I would like to share with you, also demonstrating this interaction between gut and feelings and behavior. Recently, a special type of therapy has increasingly been applied to treat certain gut disorders. And this therapy is called a poop transplant. Now, for those of you who are interested, this is how it works. So, on this side, you see a healthy gut, and on this side, an unhealthy gut. Now, since your gut microbes end up in your poop, a healthy gut will provide you with healthy poop. And in the same way, an unhealthy gut will provide you with unhealthy poop. Oh? Unhealthy poop. So, a poop transplant entails that you take the poop of a healthy person, an athlete for instance, and you insert it into the colon of an unhealthy person, such as a sedentary person. Now, remember, we've seen that our gut microbes can influence how we feel and behave. So I guess it does make sense that if you have healthy gut microbes, and these end up in your poop, that your poop will be happy making poop. So, does this mean that this poop transplant therapy could help certain people with depression, for instance? Well, there have been no conclusive clinical studies for people with mental disorders yet, and therefore it is not yet allowed in a hospital environment, only for gut disorders. But very recently, a few desperate individuals who were very badly suffering from disorders such as depression or bipolar disorder, having tried all types of medication in vain, turned to something they called DIY poop transplantation. They took the poop from their healthy husband or spouse, inserted it into their behind, hoping that these healthy microbes would populate their own gut and make them feel better. And this was a big success. Within just a few months, they were cured from their problems without having to experience all the negative side effects they would normally experience with medication. Now, before you all start inserting each other's poop, I have to warn you that although these are very promising cases, much more research needs to be undertaken to determine to what extent this technique works, whether it works for everyone, and its effects on the long term. So please, don't try this at home. There really has to be way more research, and it's not because it worked for these people that it guaranteed will work for you. So up to now, we've seen that our gut interacts with our brain, that this interaction affects our feelings and behaviors, and that this effect is mediated by our gut microbiome. Are you all still with me? Now, what if I told you that there is a way to influence our gut microbiome in order to take control of our feelings and behaviors? Each one of us can follow a few simple steps to change our lifestyle and thereby change our gut microbiome. And today I would like to talk to you about 3 of these lifestyle changes that I consider to be the most important and relevant. The first is stress. Let's just do a show of hands. Who in the past month has experienced a stressful day? Everybody. Thank you. In the face of our overachieving societies, more and more people are being diagnosed with stress-related disorders. I know for myself that at the age of 17, I was experiencing chronic stress. Within a year, I had developed almost 10 food intolerances and had continuous gut discomfort. Now, when you stress, what happens is that the energy normally used for digestion and other gut functions is sent to your brain instead of to your gut. So essentially, your gut is left unguarded. And this leaves space for bad gut bacteria to invade and colonize your gut, ultimately making you feel lousy. Now, over the last couple of years, I've changed my diet to enrich my gut in healthy microbes. And in parallel, I took a lot of measures to decrease my everyday stress. And today, I only have 2 of these intolerances left, and I'm confident that they will soon pass away. And it's normal for everybody to experience stress from time to time. But the line between occasional stress and chronic stress is easily transgressed. When you look at students, for instance, they usually stress every exam week they have. Now, when that's every 4 weeks, you're literally stressed out 1/4 of the time. So I think that stress is really the #1 factor that we tend to overlook when it comes to keeping a healthy gut. The second lifestyle change I would like to talk to you about is about our everyday environment, and more specifically, our hygiene. Now, the environment around you shouldn't be too clean. A recent study uncovered that households that extensively use disinfectants to clean led to more disease in children later on compared to households who cleaned moderately. And what's important here is that a little bit of bad bacteria can be good sometimes, because it's these bacteria that train your body for a possible invasion later on. And I have a playful analogy to conceptualize this. You can think of your gut microbes as the military. I think you'll all agree with me that soldiers wouldn't stand a chance of winning a battle against an enemy army if they have never fought a battle before, right? That makes sense. And the same accounts for our gut microbes. They are best equipped to win a battle against an enemy army if they have fought already and practiced against a few individual invaders beforehand. So what's key here is to allow your gut microbes to practice by maintaining not a sterile environment, but instead an environment that is balanced in bacteria, a hygienic environment. The last lifestyle hack that I would like to give to you is about nutrition. Let's do one more show of hands. Who of you occasionally drinks orange juice? You know, because it's healthy and it tastes good. Yes, also a lot of people. Well, I'm sorry to be the one to tell you this, but orange juice isn't as healthy as you think. You see, when you press an orange, you collect the juice of the orange, right? But the thin, transparent skin around the orange, that goes lost. And the problem with this is that the fiber, most of the fiber, is contained in this thin, transparent skin. And it's the fiber that will make you feel full. And it's the fiber that will feed your good gut bacteria. Now, usually when you've eaten one orange, you've had enough. But when you drink a glass of orange juice, you have 4 oranges at once, right? The juice of 4 oranges at once. So you're actually ingesting the sugar content of 4 oranges at once. This is equivalent to 20 grams of sugar, or 5 sugar cubes in one go, which is almost as much as in a glass of Coke. So next time you have a brunch, maybe think twice about pouring yourself that glass of orange juice. Now, I want to leave you with one last thought. I'm sure most of you have heard of the saying, "We are what we eat." But what misses in this saying is that the we that we're talking about isn't our brain, it isn't our body. The we that we're talking about is our gut microbiome. When we eat, we choose to feed certain bacteria in our gut over others. And depending on the bacteria that we feed, we may feel different or behave differently. And so gut feelings are truly a thing. Gut feelings are true. And now it is in your hands to adopt a healthy lifestyle in terms of diet, stress, and hygiene, so you can educate the lovely little soldiers living inside your belly. There. That's some food for thought. Thank you.